Hey guys, Glenn here. Yep, been away for a while. I'm gonna start making videos again and hopefully help out all the people that watch my videos again. This video is going to be focusing about Town Hall 10 bases, and I'm going to be using this clan Born as Ghosts clan's war bases to help us understand sort of the key features, key things to look out for in a good Town Hall 10 base. And I'm going to start with talking about the air defense, queen, and infernos, their relationship to each other, I guess you can say. So we're going to be looking at this base to start, and then I'll show you the other bases, and one by one we're just going to go through these tips and why these things exist for all of these bases, as well as that this is a theme in all of the Town Hall 10 bases, and you should always look out for them when you make your own bases. So starting with the air defense, queen, and inferno relationship. If you can see where the air defenses are in this base, they are going to be somewhat distant apart away from the infernos. This is so that you cannot create an entry point to eliminate two air defense and inferno, take care of the CC potentially, and the enemy queen. Because enemy queen is basically your mobile air defense, your fifth air defense basically. So sure, the closest thing would be something like this to enter in to get maybe this one air defense here and then the queen and the inferno, but your kill squad with one golem and bowlers is going to struggle just because of all the storages here, as well as these trash buildings. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a challenge. And if you think about using two golems, that's going to be where you come a bit short with the three air defense and the inferno in the backside. And that just goes to show that if you can create a relationship where there is no way for an entry point to get two air defense and an inferno and a queen, then your base is pretty good to defend against any kind of Gobo Lalun attack. And that's basically the two attacks you're going to see in Town Hall 10 3 stars is Gobo Lalun, or something to do with a kill squad and Lalun backend, or a Gobo Witch. That's pretty much all I see. There's dragons and other things, but it's very difficult to use those strategies, and your highest bet, your highest percentage to 3-star Town Hall 10, a max Town Hall 10, is one of those two attacks. So we're just going to be talking about how to defend against those two attacks. So look at the relationship between the air defense, inferno, and the queen for this next one as well. So if you pay attention to where the inferno is, as well as the queen and the air defense, you have no entry point that can eliminate two air defense, the queen, the CC, and an inferno. So in this case, if you were to try to get all of this, you cannot do this with one golem, bowlers, and kill squad. It's going to be very difficult. Sure, you can think of something like, let's say, a jump here, one golem, you can funnel this off and then enter in here to eliminate two air defense, the queen, the CC. You might come short of here. You probably can't take that inferno down, and that's where you're going to try to push in with a hound and a hound here, and loons followed behind, targeting these for the inferno takedown. But then this is going to be where you're going to have to work with three hounds, and I'm sure all the traps, the seeking air mines are by the air defense here, and unless you send loons here quickly, those air defenses are going to do a lot of damage to three hounds. And what's great about this particular base is, let's say you do the back end Lalun here, and then you get rid of the two air defenses and the inferno here. Great, but the problem is you are still left with your Lalun finishing up by the wizard tower, which is going to do a whole lot of damage to your grouped up loons, as well as two archer towers, no, maybe even three archer towers and an inferno. Even with the freeze here, it's going to be so hard to take this down if that's the last thing your Lalun needs to take down to 3-star this base. And yeah, that's just a very well balanced base. You can also see it here. Look at the relationship between the inferno and the air defense and the queen. There is no way you would need to get 2 air defenses, the queen and a inferno. You would need more than 2 golems the way I see it, because of all of these defenses here. This needs to be taken down for you to be able to do a back end Lalun, like say here, or maybe it makes more sense to come in from here and then sweep around clockwise like this, back end Lalun. You could think about 2 hounds and loons and a bigger kill squad, but honestly, if a base with air defenses, infernos, and queen are separated well enough so that you cannot pick up all those with a mini kill squad, your Lalun is going to suffer. Your kill squad is not gonna get their objective, and yeah, you're just not gonna get the 3-star. Even with this next one here, great air defense placement. They're very far away from the queen as well as the inferno, so you will probably not get those out of the way for back end Lalun. So basically Lalun does not work well for these bases unless you execute it like perfectly. So that's that. Next thing I'm going to look at, the next tip I would give with a Town Hall 10 base is your cannons and air defense relationship. So what you're going to notice with all of these bases is by the air defense, you're going to see cannons. And it's going to be the closest thing to your air defense. The reason for it is basically, this is it. Honestly, the reason for it is air defenses are basically the strongest defense to stop air attacks. And to counter ground attacks, your strongest defense, I would say, is infernos, yes. But I would also say cannons are equally as powerful. Cannons probably do more damage than any other defense, if I'm not mistaken, if we exclude the queen. So that's why, to protect the ground, cannons are the best, and to protect the air defenses are the best. So they sort of work well together, and archer towers, wizard towers are better off away from those defenses. So you will see that cannons very close to the air defense here. You will also notice here, cannon, air defense, not with this one, but at least here you can see, cannons and air defenses are close together. So this one, notice that in this compartment, it's the cannons and the air defense, cannon here as well, close to the air defenses. So yeah, keep the cannons close to the air defenses. That's just how the bases are designed, and it just makes sense. They work well together. So that is the relationship between cannons and air defenses. Next thing we're going to talk about is the wizard towers. What I would say is a big tip for Town Hall 10 base design is to keep the wizard towers, at least 2 of them, away from air defenses. So in this one, you'll realize all 4 wizard towers are away from the air defenses. So where should they be? They should be close to the queen as well as your inferno. So this one is going to protect the inferno, basically helping the inferno take down maybe hogs, Valks, grouped up loons coming at them. The wizard tower just does an extra splash damage to protect the inferno. And it's great because if a hound was sitting on top of an air defense and a wizard tower tries to attack the hound, the loons are free to take down the wizard tower and all the other defenses, and the splash damage of a wizard tower is wasted because it's focused on a hound. So that's basically the only reason for why a wizard tower should just stay away from air defenses. So notice with this one as well, the placement of wizard towers far away from the air defense. See? Yeah. Next one here. Air defenses are here. Notice how this one's grouped, but the rest of the wizard towers all away, far away from the air defenses. And this last one as well, wizard towers are away from the air defense. So yeah, that's very straightforward. Next thing we're going to talk about is bomb towers. Where should bomb towers be placed? Bomb towers are usually centralized with the queen and the CC. And you're going to also see sweeper close to the core as well. And we're going to talk about all three of these things together while we flip through these bases. So a bomb tower is not very good for outer ring because it's going to not do a lot of damage to anything ground. It's better for core because it can kind of help defend against mass bowlers when they run out of heals and rages and they reach the core and they don't have full health, and then the bomb towers just sort of finish them off. That's one thing, but also they're very good at protecting the queen by dropping bombs on the skellies. The skellies can kill the queen in a mass Lalun attack, and bomb towers can protect the queen from that. So that's why bomb towers are in the core. Now the sweeper are also something that don't do a lot when it's more outside, because you basically want the sweeper to blow wind as much as you can, and for it to do that it needs to be in the core where it's going to be taking out like 3-4 layers deep. So to take these sweepers down, you need the loons to go 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 or 5 times to get to the sweeper. So basically those sweepers are going to be active for a very, very long time. And that's why sweepers, you're just going to see them all in the core. So bomb tower near the queen, kind of in the core, but a little bit to the left, but still somewhat in the core. You will also see the sweeper in the core area. It's not going to be anywhere outside, always in the core. You're going to see the same thing here. Look, what's in the center of this space? It's basically bomb towers, sweepers, and the CC. And the queen just next to it. Here you're going to see the same thing, CC in the core, the sweepers very close to the core, and bomb towers close to the core. And the bomb towers, because they don't have a long range, should be able to reach the queen. Yeah. Next thing we're going to talk about is the expos. The expos now, just plain and simple, it needs to be set to air. There's no benefit of it being ground, because though ground troops are kind of making a comeback with Global Witch, it's still going to be so useless if someone decides to do a mass Lalun attack or a back-end Lalun. The expos just become so useless, so you just have to keep the expos to air. So you're going to see them air here, it's air here in the core. Now the placement of expos, I would always suggest putting it somewhere in the mid section, like a mid ring. So if this is the core and this is like the middle ring, and then this is like the outer ring, it's usually in the middle ring. So let's look at all of them. So here you'll see them right in the core for this one. This one you see them kind of in the second ring, see, like about there, right? Not too close to the core, but a little bit to the midsection of it. This one as well. So this is just the placement of expos where they're sort of placed usually. Next thing we can talk about is the jumps. So you basically want the walls to be designed specifically so that there's no way for 2 jumps to access basically 80 to 90% of the base. In this one, you can do a jump here and then maybe a jump like this, but it just doesn't give you the extra jump to get to the last Inferno, which is where you come short and the Global Witch could fail. And this is where a Town 11 has the advantage of using the extra jump and the extra spell to get to the last compartment and basically wipe the whole base out with Global Witch. But we're just talking about defending against Town 10 attacks. So here you'll see that one jump here and maybe like a jump here gets you, or maybe like about here, but it's really hard to get to this last Inferno. Even if you made a jump to connect there, the troops will start going like this and separating, and they just never make it to the last Inferno. So great wall placement, wall design need to stop 2 jumps for to reach like all of the defenses basically. So in this one, let's say if someone decided to do like a jump here for the first Inferno and the queen, and the second jump would probably be here, cannot reach the back end and the last Inferno. And last but not least, this one too. This one's really tricky because if you do a jump here, let's say, your troops will start going like this. Your bowlers could start not going to the core, which is a key thing about this base. and let's say you did a jump here, while you still need to do like a jump here or here, but you just cannot get to the back end of that base with 2 jumps. So just a wall placement for this one, this tip, just so that it does not allow the whole base to get opened up with 2 jumps. Next thing we're going to talk about are trash storages. So trash buildings, especially the storages, need to be placed somewhere within the base. It could be outside, but I would always advise to keep about 2 or 4 inside the walls. It's just a good way to defend against bowler attacks or any kind of attacks, where it sort of delays the troops from taking out the actual defenses, and they work as a shield. And you'll see that here. You'll see it here as well. 1, 2, 3. They're very key, and they're usually placed between defenses. So like this one is between these defenses, this one between these defenses, this one between these defenses. Like it's surrounded by defenses. And here as well, this one is protecting the Inferno, and it's too bad there isn't like a storage here or here. I think that would also do additional sort of shield for the defenses, but I guess not for this one. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the mortar placement. The mortars are going to be nowhere near the core of the base in most of these designs. For this one, it's sort of abandoned outside. It's to lure the golems there, right? So that, or the giants or whatever, so it doesn't do a clean funnel into the base, I guess. It's one way to use mortars. And mortars are just not that great for defending Tunnel 10 attacks. So mortars, just you don't want it centralized. You'll see them all in the outer ring of the base, like about there, right? Next one here, here, all away from the core. And last but not least, this one is all abandoned outside. So that's where the mortars should be placed. Next thing I'm going to talk about, the last thing I'm going to talk about is going to be the king. The king should be placed somewhere adjacent to the queen. I think it sort of delays the queen kill, and it really helps so that the queen doesn't die too soon to a kill squad. So you see it there. You see the king right next to the queen in this one. And then in this one, you see the king here, adjacent to the queen. And this one, the king is kind of near the queen here too, yeah. The last little tip before I end this video, this was quite a long video, and the last tip is going to be that skeleton traps, I would highly advise putting 1 or 2 to air and 1 for ground. It should be both. You shouldn't set it all to ground or all to air, because Laloon and Gobo Witch, they're both either all ground or all air, and they're going to do a lot of damage if let's say all your traps are set to air and someone uses Gobo Witch, it's going to do a lot. And if you vice versa, it's just going to do a lot of damage to your base if your skelly traps do not activate. They do not do anything for that attack. So I would highly advise to set 1 or 2 to air and 1 or 2 to ground, so that you have at least one of those traps activate. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope these tips help you to make your own bases, or maybe copy one of these bases and then try to modify it and make it your own. And hopefully it helps in defending your base and never getting 3-starred again. See you guys in the next one. Make me proud, guys.